Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Here's show number, it feels like 19. I don't know if that's what it is, but it's show 19. And if you're looking on the table here, no notes for Tim this week.
Oh boy.
Noteless. Okay? Because George is in control today. He's going to direct our conversations. So, yeah, deal with that, everybody. I suppose we got to start with the Super Bowl, huh?
That's where we have to start.
We ended with the Super Bowl last week. We got to start with the Super Bowl today. So, I'm going to start the conversation this way, even though I told you were in control. Did the wrong team win?
You know, I'm not entirely sure of that. You take a look at San Francisco from tight end to tight end, and one of the items I wanted to bring up was tight ends are playing a big part in football these days.
Yeah.
You know, on both sides of the ball, and Kelsey had himself a tremendous game, and Kittle always plays well. You know, and you just see these teams, and it was a classic different style, and you know, 10-10 going into half, and you thought, nothing's been proven yet.
Yeah, and the thing is, if we'd have sat here last week and told everybody, hey, the score's going to be 10-10 at halftime, I think a lot of people would have thought that maybe we were a little nuts. How are you going to hold Kansas City to 0 or to 10 points in the first half?
Yeah.
And for that matter, 0 points in the third quarter. So they had 10 at the start of the fourth quarter. Matter of fact, they had 10 with about 10 minutes to go.
10 minutes to go.
And I'm going, wow.
And
okay,
then,
the Vikings and the Packers should not feel bad.
And then they had the miracle catch.
Well.
And that went down the sidelines and scored a touchdown. And just like, did score a touchdown? They got a first down on that one. And they scored one or 2 plays later.
Yeah, a couple seconds later, yeah.
You know, and it's just like you see this happen, you just say, Kansas City, here you go again.
Yeah.
And they scored twice in 5 minutes and 20 seconds or 5 minutes 30 seconds, and he just drilled you. And like I said, if they can contain, who would know this, Patrick Mahomes from running and keep the edge closed down to him, but he just didn't let that happen.
Yeah, they talked about it in the Minneapolis paper one day, Tuesday I think it was, and they talked about they gave the MVP to the wrong person or personnel. That they really should have given the MVP to the 5 linemen up front.
Oh.
The one thing that they said, and you know, I'm saying what other people say. You know how if you've watched the show, you know how I feel about the offensive line. I'm a big proponent of how good San Francisco's offensive line is. Do you realize that Mahomes was only rushed once, where he had to get rid of the ball?
And take a look at the guys that were rushing. They're some of the best in the league.
And they're some of the best in the league. So how good is Kansas City's offensive line in that respect? And obviously they're explosive. And San Francisco, both teams had good game plans. And of course Shanahan is taking a little grief now because of course he was the offensive coordinator when Atlanta blew their 28-3 lead a few Super Bowls back, and then of course the collapse, I guess if you want to call it, up 20-10 and losing 31-20, and of course that last touchdown, let's not even call it, let's say it was 24-20 the final, and people probably aren't being quite so whatever. I have to be honest with you, I did say last week, and I'm not trying to whatever here, was 27-25 I said was going to be the final. That was the score I said. And when San Francisco got the ball back with 2:40 whatever it was, and it was down 24-20, I'm like, 27-24 sounds really close. Yeah. And I thought that's how it was going to end. But one thing that I think we safely can say about San Francisco and the similarities that they have to Minnesota is sometimes they don't have that big play sometimes capabilities, and the Vikings probably have it a little bit more than the Niners do, that big play capability. But that last drive reminded me so much of so many Minnesota Vikings drives in the fourth quarter this year when they just needed to, and they couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't do it. And you know, some people will say that's a Garoppolo thing. You know, he doesn't. He reminds me a lot of Kirk Cousins, people.
Well, they do, and you know, and I keep in mind, like I said, their offenses were 22 offenses, 2 running backs and 2 tight ends. They ran it a lot. The only team that ran it more were the Vikings.
Huh?
And then we throw Hams in there for, you know, a tight end, 2 tight ends, and a half a tight end. He's amazing.
Half a tight end, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said it. I started it this way. I'll end it this way. I still am not sure Kansas City's the best team. Yes, they ended up winning 31-20, and they're already talking repeat. Of course, that's what you do when you have a team like that. But the one positive out of it that I can take is that Andy Reid won a Super Bowl. He's very deserving of it, and kind of gets that monkey off of his back. So I think I think in that case everything was good. I wasn't necessarily pulling for San Francisco. I just thought they were good. I thought they would win, and I still maybe believe that in my hearts of hearts that they are the better team. But I'll tell you, Richard Sherman, boy, did he get beat up.
Sure
Tyreek Hill put a smackdown on him, and
that was an incredible block.
Yeah.
And he really was not functioning as well the rest of the game. But Sherman had to have a good game.
Yep.
Anybody that's covering those
wide receivers.
Oh boy, I tell you, they got rockets on their shoes. I want to bring up one statistic. I'm not sure that you know about.
One statistic only. Yes.
Derek Nannati, he's a defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, within a short time after winning the Super Bowl, they always say, I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Well, what he did is he pledged to pay the adoption fee for all Kansas City Pet Project, and there were 117 dogs listed with fees as high as $300. There's a commitment that Nannati did get a Super Bowl bonus. You know what the bonus was?
I remember back in the old days when I was growing up, it was, I think, like 16,000. So I'm going to guess, I have no idea, I'm going to guess it's 75,000.
125,000.
125 grand, not too shabby for winning a Super Bowl.
But anyway,
plus the ring and
Nannati, here's this great big nasty human being, and what does he do? And he has adoption houses all over the place. He'll take in as many. Never saw a dog he didn't love, and I can appreciate that.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was one thing that hadn't come across much on the sporting news, and I just thought that I'd add that.
Are we going to bring up the halftime show at all? I mean, do we have to do our due diligence here and talk about it, or
if we have to? Number one, I have to say the parts that I watched had more to do with the music, and this is salsa music. And I have seen salsa dancers. I've known salsa dancers. Salsa dancers really get going, and they have a moment when they shine. And when they shine, and their costume is just right, they shine.
They shine.
And so I thought the young ladies were beautiful until I found out Jennifer Lopez was 50 years old.
And then you thought,
your age, I thought,
she's my age.
That is one fine, good-looking 50-year-old woman, and she really had talent and really could go. I was impressed by that. Hard not to be.
I'll be honest with you. I watched 0 seconds of it live, and the parts that I have seen has only been on what's been on Twitter to see what all the scuttlebutt was about, and no pun intended. But I was after the game, I was reading Twitter, and I'm like, what's all this stuff about? There was this one mom saying, my 3-year-old said she could see the dancer's butt, and I'm like, what? What's going on? So
at least your 3-year-old knows what a butt is. So this is in Miami. This is high salsa, Spanish music. They shine, and boy, did they shine!
Yeah,
and it wasn't just those two either. The whole bunch of them.
To me, it's not a big deal. I don't know what all the banter is about, but it was about something. So
okay. Oh, I got one other thing for the Super Bowl.
One other thing for the Super Bowl.
There was an estimated 800,000 people at the parade.
Okay.
Kansas City has 470,000. So, that many people came from out of town to go watch these people.
And some people were saying that there weren't as many there as there were for the Royals when they won it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever they won the World Series. And somebody said, well, it was like 28 degrees rather than like 60 degrees. So that makes a difference. And of course, a lot of you people don't know, but maybe some of you do know, spent a lot of summers in Kansas City, a lot of weeks in Kansas City over the last dozen years or so. So everything that was lit up in red, all the Union Station and the Opera House and all the other stuff, it was kind of like, oh, it was like old home week, seeing all the stuff lit up. So, like I said, congratulations to the Chiefs winning for the first time in 50 years. That was another good thing.
Yeah.
San Francisco had won five before, so spread the wealth a little bit, and let's get the purple one.
Let's get some wealth here too. Yeah.
What do you want to talk about next?
Hey, last night was a really good basketball game.
Let's talk about basketball. I would say that's the best I've seen the Gophers play this year. After last week we talked about them playing Illinois, and after I watched them play in the first half against Illinois last Thursday, I was convinced that this team could maybe not win another basketball game because they looked so pathetic. It was frustrating. It was just like, what's going on? Last night, everything seemed to be going in. The three-point shots were going in.
4 out of the 5 starters were in double figures, and Kelscher got 7, and so and nailed a couple of threes when they needed them.
Yeah, he hit that one right before half where he was running away from the basket, caught it, and turned about 240 degrees and just scanned this three. And then he picked up his third foul, I think, on a kind of a stupid foul, which kind of limited his number of minutes, I think, in last night's game some.
Kelscher got 11, excuse me. DeMore got 7.
So,
got 7.
But they were, a big win at home in the Big Ten. You're supposed to win at home. They took care of business, and they beat the Cheeseheads, they beat the Badgers, and anytime you beat them, and I like the new terminology. I don't know. This is the other day was the first time I ever heard of this, about the NET and it getting a quadrant 1 win. So now they're breaking the teams up into quadrants. It's amazing. So my Uncle Paul used it. He texted back to me last night. That should be a quadrant 1 win because Wisconsin's ranked number 30 in the nation. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to get with it here. This isn't something that's going to go away. So
no, I mean, there's articles on it every day in the paper. You should have seen the one in the New York Times, CBS Sports talked about the colleges that really did well with the national signing date. And Pitino didn't worry about that because he did his signing in November and December, and most of them do.
Yeah.
And so now they set this.
Yeah, the big one, this week with the signing. Yesterday, a big thing was for football signing and the kids that hadn't signed and of course this was the grading class and the Vikings, the Gophers, just to finish that point, I think got ranked 35th or 36th in the nation. So think about that recruiting class. Last year they were like 9th out of 14 teams in the Big Ten. This time they're 35th in the nation. So the beating of Auburn got them some picks, got them some kids, and took care of business.
Well, just back to the basketball.
Yeah,
Peyton
let's go
Willis,
back. Yeah, Peyton Willis, nice.
He had 21 points last night.
That was the difference in the ball game. Thank you for bringing that up.
And 5 rebounds besides, and this is season high scoring. And tied his rebound against Michigan. Oturu, 17 points, 14 rebounds. And I'm going to say this about Daniel. He was named to the Wooden Award list, late season top 20 list, which ranks him amongst the top candidates in the nation for the men's basketball player of the year. The award will be announced in April. Now, the fact that he's considered, amongst the top 20, tells you a lot.
Yeah,
and I think last night you saw that kind of talent. If he can get 17 and 14 the rest of his career, he's going to be an All-American first team. And, he is just... Now, I understand where you're coming from about him maintaining a certain...
Decorum?
And he sometimes...
Did you see him lipping off to anybody last night?
No, I didn't.
I didn't notice it. I didn't see any John with anybody. And you would think that other Big Ten teams would be wise to, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. He plays better when he's ticked off. I don't know. But
I think we have to maybe speak a word for our connection from International Falls to the Wisconsin.
You want to address that topic? I was going to go there next.
Okay.
Can I say he didn't look his normal self last night? And I mean that in the way that he wasn't a big factor in the game.
Not at all. He got where the heck
we're talking about Brad Davison, by the way.
he played 24 minutes, and he got 2 rebounds and wound up with 4 points. And he was always the spark plug. Now, Nick Rovers, he kind of handled the thing,
Yeah,
and
yes, he did.
I thought he played in the paint really well against. I think Couture overpowered him, but
Okay, I'm also going to bring this up. As I was watching the first half, and I didn't get to see the second half, but I'll say this. I think the Gophers got way more the benefit of the calls from the referees than Wisconsin did. And Corey Provis and whoever his color guy, they were trying to say that, but you know, Provis is a Minnesota guy. So he's cheering for the Gophers.
They're playing in the barn,
And they're playing in the barn.
And so you know how hard it is to win on the road game.
All I'm saying is I think the Gophers got the benefit of the doubt. That was part of the reason for their big win last night. The officials, there were some 50-50 calls, and all of them, I think, went the Gophers' way. All of them. There wasn't one of those calls you were like, well, I could go eat. Oh, and it went on the Gophers. There were none of those. If it was questionable, it was on the team in red. And so, having said that, great win by the Gophers, a much-needed win. As of last night, they were not in the NCAA tournament.
They get a chance this weekend.
They get Penn State this weekend.
Penn State Saturday afternoon, and that's going to be a dandy. No two ways about it.
No two ways about that. It is going to be dandy, and the Gophers win that one. And I think they put themselves back in the mix because it was only 10 days ago we were talking about them being a number 11, I think.
Yes.
Right on the bubble. So they're going to be there. It's going to be interesting to see how it all finishes out. They've had some tough losses. They haven't showed that they can win on the road. So can you win on the road at Penn State? And
I think what they do have though is they have 5 pretty good starters, and they have 2 or 3 off the bench. And you know, if you can have that and be able to avoid twisted ankles and such.
Yeah, and they were talking on the post-game show last night of the Gopher games on the Big Ten Network. That's what I was watching, and they were talking about the fact that the Gophers really haven't been able to replace Eric Curry.
No.
You know, they expected him to be there, and so they're really missing. They don't have 5 great starters. They got 4 pretty good ones, but they don't have a 5th one that they can kind of rely on when things go to, and that's maybe the one thing that's holding this team back. But hey, who knows? You get hot and you get believing, and things can happen.
Can we just skip over to the girls' women's section?
Would you like to talk about the Gopher
Tonight. Now, you know, I was so disappointed. I thought it would be. I saw Big Ten Network, and it's not, but it's Big Ten Plus, and you got to stream it.
And you got to pay the bucko.
That's what I thought. Anyway, they're going after their 3rd straight win against Wisconsin, at Wisconsin.
After the Scotties beat them here at home.
Yes.
Did you watch the game on Sunday?
Yes.
Go ahead. I'll let you go ahead.
No, but I flashed around to the Gopher Sports, got on the website, and they have a coach's corner.
Okay.
And so I listened to Brandon Ingham, the wrestling coach, of course, and Rick Pitino, and I thought,
let's see
what Lindsay Whalen has to say. She is going to be one fine coach, and she knows what she's doing. She can tell with the X's and O's. She is a leader. She's always been a leader. I don't know anybody should be surprised.
No.
But it's like this book I'm reading about character and leadership, and you take a look at Lindsay Whalen, and she has them both. So I think the Gophers, if they treat her kindly, she could be there for a long, long time, and might be one of the greatest coaches I ever had.
Very, very well could be.
Yeah.
That was. I'm going to say it this way, and don't anybody judge me harshly on this. That double overtime win by the Gophers on Sunday, right before the Super Bowl, I really had to force myself to watch that game because there was some bad basketball, George.
There was.
There was some really tough shooting. There were some questionable calls. There were some questionable decisions by the players. It was tough. But the Bello, the one sister, had 19 points and 22 rebounds in double overtime.
That'd be Taya Bello, and you know she has posted 11 double doubles. So and you take a look at this, and so you watch her play, and just like anybody else, when they're rebounding, they can really jump. And she's nice and lean and really fast, and she just
She
sneaks in there
sees
and gets
things.
it.
She sees the game.
Oh boy!
I think that's the biggest thing.
So she's had some great performances, and I think after Destiny Pitts left, somebody had to jump in and pick up that.
Oh,
I know that they were friends,
absolutely.
but she
Absolutely.
she jumped in and did that, and I think that's a reflection of Coach Whalen's technique as much as anything. But this girl has talent.
She's got talent. Yeah, I think the Gophers need to make a run. The Gopher women need to make a run as well to make the NCAA tournament. But maybe playing in the WNIT would be a better thing. They'd get maybe they could play 3, 4, 5 more games rather than maybe going into the NCAA tournament and losing a first round game. You got to kind of try to weigh that out. But yeah. You want to move on to Gopher wrestling as long as we're in the Gopher, as long as we're in the Gopher mood and.
How could I just come up with this?
I don't know.
Okay, the Gophers went last weekend, Friday and Saturday,
to Indiana.
They started in West Lafayette against Purdue.
Yep.
And this has been a long time since this has happened, but there was 4 falls. 4 falls.
4 falls, yeah.
We had Bailey O'Reilly got a tech fall.
Skatska lost. Again.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on with him.
But it's close, right?
Yeah.
This one.
Then all of a sudden, Stevenson comes up. He gets a tech fall, and Pat McGee.
Now, McKee, his season might be over. I don't know. Did you see that part of that match?
Yeah.
At the end, that boy was a hurt unit. There's something wrong with those knees. I don't know what's going to happen there, if he's going to be able to make it through there. But the Brayton Lee win in overtime to finish up. Brayton's from Indiana, right there close to West Lafayette. He gets the win in overtime, and I mean, he just absolutely bulldogged the kid to get that 2 points. It was a great finish.
Well, I'll tell you what, Stevenson, our heavyweight, he tech fouled Thomas Panola, and Panola is no slouch. He's rated 25. And then the next Sunday afternoon, they went
and they got Indiana
over to Bloomington, and Bailey
really
O'Reilly, Owen Webster, Bloomington, isn't that what I said?
Yeah.
Bloomington, Bailey O'Reilly, Owen Webster, Hunter Ritter, and Gable Stevenson all pinned their opponents, turned the Gophers a combined.
You told me last week he's not a pinner.
Well, he changed his mind.
He changed his time, yeah.
I wrote him a letter that said become a pinner.
Yeah, we're complaining about you on the rap, so you better get your stuff together, Gable. So, yeah, big 38-9 win at Indiana.
That was huge.
And neither one of these 2 wins would be considered shocks.
No.
They were expected.
No.
And hope that things keep going on. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This whole wrestling thing?
Yeah.
Because last Friday night I was a little bit busy. What happened with Iowa Penn State?
Iowa beat them by 2.
Wow. I didn't even go back and watch it.
It was a lip ripper. And so when you get a really good team like Penn State and they lose a close one, and then they come into your house on Sunday, they're going to be mad. And so that's what's going to happen. So they're coming in Sunday afternoon.
Is that on BTN?
It is, I believe. Yes.
Oh, what time? What time? I'm probably going to be at hockey in Ely. I have a feeling.
I think it's like 2 o'clock. But that should be a dandy.
That should be a dandy. Should be fun. And I'll say this: I'm not expecting the Gophers to beat Penn State, but let's be competitive. Let's see some good matches.
Oh, let me see here. I knew I had somewhat of a schedule down. The Gopher women tonight. Men's basketball at Penn State on Saturday. Gopher wrestling hosting Penn State 1 o'clock Saturday. Ad is on BTN.
No, not going to get to watch that.
And the women's hockey goes to BSU at 6. Men's hockey is going to have a tough weekend with Michigan State. That is going to be a cruncher. It always is a cruncher.
I read something that the 5 top teams in the Big Ten, and I think there's 7 teams in the Big Ten men's hockey. 5 of them, the top 5 teams are within a point. I think I read somewhere along the way. So the Big Ten hockey trying to mess things up and make things interesting.
That's right.
What do you want to move to next?
Well,
you want to talk about this?
I think it's as long as it came up.
I don't know if you can see that, folks. But that says about Pete Rose wanting reinstatement, and he has filed for reinstatement. And in the wake of the Astros cheating scandal, the quote that I read somewhere today, I don't know where it was, or this morning or yesterday, that he believes that with the punishment that the Astros got, his has been way over the top, and it is time for reinstatement. And I'm like, well, Pete, you must be watching the Sports Wrap with George and Ringer, because that's exactly what Tim said about 3 weeks ago.
When the powers that be first heard about the cheating scandal in Houston, the second question was, oh my God, what's Pete Rose going to do with this? And you could see it coming a mile away.
And if he doesn't get back in, it's because they are a bunch of... Because they don't want to be changing the minds, and they don't want to step on anybody's toes, and it's wrong. If they don't let Pete Rose back in, if they don't reinstate him this time and get him in the Hall of Fame, baseball is wrong. That's it. That's all
I tell you, maybe I've told you my theory on this. It started with Curt Flood, and then Pete Rose's situation came across, and they thought, how are we going to handle this? We're going to handle it like the 1919 Black Sox scandal, and we're going to stomp on him. But see, a lot of things have changed from 1919. The ball players have all changed.
Yeah.
I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame because he could do things on the field that I could see nobody else doing, and
was willing to do things that other guy.
to do. Just, and so I have to take a look at just, what kind of character did he have? Is he flawed? Yeah.
Who isn't?
Well, yeah. There's a couple of us, but you go talk to them at church on Sunday.
As we're on baseball,
yeah.
What do you think of the Twins trade that they did with the Dodgers and the Sox?
You want to know something before? One thing you have to take a look at this trade. Do you have any idea how good the LA Dodgers are going to be next year?
Yeah.
And they got rid of a couple of really good ball players.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts, they're crying in Boston. They want to jump out the window, but they all wind up in the river. So, it's a horrible thing. Those people fall in love with their ball players, and Mookie Betts, and he's 36 years old, but he can still hit the tater.
Well, I'm waiting to see if this is all going to be official, because the Twins pitcher might have screwed this thing up. Gratterall, Boston isn't too happy with his shoulder and where he's at, and so, I didn't like the fact that they might have traded this guy who could throw in the hundreds. We got a glimpse of him last year, but the shoulder might be a little iffy. Boston is still not too happy with things, and of course, here's an interesting twist, international falls wise, on this trade. Can I say it this way? So Monday we're in school. Okay, my door's open, my 5th hour class has started, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden there's all this commotion out in the hallway, people jibber jabbering and laughing and whatever else, and you can tell it's not kids. And I'm like, all right, what's going on? So I walk out in the hallway, and coming down the hallway is an entourage of people, and in the middle there's a guy wearing a Dodgers jersey. Okay? Well, Alex Verdugo, who plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers, I should say possibly played past tense, was in town. He has family here, a family connection here with the Potters, and so he was in town and came in and spoke to the elementary school kids.
Fantastic.
And was in the hallway and took a couple of pictures with a couple of my students who were very fun to watch. Their mouths kind of like they met a major league ball player. And then Alex went over to Rainy River and spoke to their baseball team at practice. And so he spent a couple of days here, and then he gets traded to the Boston Red Sox with all this Mookie Betts stuff and everything. So a connection in all this trade action, but not official yet, because Boston still might not be happy with the Twins pitcher. But I'll tell you what, if the Twins picked up this Maeda kid, excuse me, well, he's not really a kid anymore. He's 30 years old. Now all of a sudden, my Uncle Paul said this: how many starting pitchers can we have? We're going to have like 8 of them.
That's
and I'm
right.
like, well, you can't have too many of them.
No.
You can't have too many starting pitchers, because you can always get rid of one later. But a lot of people said this, and I'm going to back them up on this. People were complaining the Twins hadn't done anything, and that in order to be able to get somebody, we knew we were going to have to trade a prospect. Somebody was going.
Somebody had to go.
Somebody had to go. And the thing about it is, they're trying to win in 2020. So what do you do when you try to win in 2020? Something has to give. So by the fact that we gave up the pitcher 5 years down the road, could he be the next whoever, Johan Santana, whatever? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But in 5 years, the Twins hitters could be they could be batting 127, and that one pitcher wouldn't make a difference. So I think it's the right choice. I think they did good. I like it. It shows to me that they're committed to winning now, and everything else. And so why not? I think it was a good thing.
I like the Twins style of baseball right now. I mean, I mean, if you want power, you got Cruz, you've got some of these other guys that can really put the swat. I mean, you were how many times did you watch back-to-back homers off the Twins last year? So I think this is going to be a very exciting team. So these adjustments are important.
And if the starting pitching hasn't worked out, and I think I said this here last week or the week before, Miguel Sano, you're going to probably be playing for somebody else. That's just the way I see it. But that's the way that goes, and it's fun to see what's going on. So it was a busy week in Twins baseball. The Vikings, of course, are trying to get themselves all straightened away. Free agency and everything starts here in a month or so. And then the Timberwolves, the NBA trade deadline today, and the Timberwolves were, I'm going to be honest with you folks, besides Karl Anthony Town, I don't know if I'm going to be able to know who's who.
They're all changed.
Because everybody's gone. Gorgie Jen got traded today. He's gone. So they brought in 4 new players, 5 or 6 out the door. And this was after they made a trade in January with Jeff Teague being gone. So this whole team is totally different. They want to shoot the 3, so they're trying to bring players in who can shoot the 3. So are they going to get any better? They've lost 13 in a row. They lost 11 in a row earlier. They've been the worst team in basketball since December 1st. There's 2 months left in the NBA season. I don't know what's going to happen. The Timberwolves could botch it. I think Karl Anthony Town is disappointed. Andrew Wiggins, I thought they could never be able to get rid of Andrew Wiggins. They got rid of Andrew Wiggins today. So it's wow. It's a learning process. But I think the Timberwolves said, look, we got nothing to lose. Right now we're playing so poorly. Let's see if we can get a better mix of people. Let's see if we can get some chemistry going here, and we'll work on putting things together. And they picked up a first-round draft pick possibly from the Brooklyn Nets. They could end up being 15, 16. So they're going to be a lottery pick. Plus they're going to get a 15 or a 16. So they're going to get 2 of the top, maybe 15, 16 guys if the pick works out. It is lottery protected. But I'll tell you that they did some things, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Wolves. I'm not saying there's going to be any fun to watch, but it has been interesting.
No, processes rarely are.
Yeah. Anyway, what else you got?
I've got a hockey story.
Oh boy,
from
hockey story.
Minnesota Wild.
Okay. I didn't think that was going to come up tonight, but like I said, he's in control.
No, you're just shocked that I got a story about the.
Let's talk about the Wild.
A young friend of mine. Let me see, what do I got here? A young future friend of mine here, future hockey player, had the thrill of his lifetime at the Minnesota Wild game. Do you remember they beat Dallas in overtime, I believe?
Okay.
And this is young Colton Wagner from the Mighty Mites team here in International Falls. And he was cheering for the Wild, standing next to the entry into the arena and giving them high fives, as a lot of kids do, and these guys are going down. So when the players came off the ice, just want to make sure I don't miss anything, young Colton was there getting high fives. And this is my favorite hockey player, Joel Eriksson Ek.
And he's now changed it to Joel. Because Joel Eriksson Ek.
Joel.
But he says Joel, but he pronounces it Joel.
Well,
anyway,
he's a forward, a young man from Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay, so he walked past Colton and turned around and came back and handed him a stick. And I've seen pictures of the stick, and it's like engraved at the top of the handle with plastic. I've never had a stick this nice in either of you.
Sure.
And so he handed it to him, and there's Colton with this stick, and I understand people were going to his parents and offering $600, $700, $800 for it. And you weren't going to take that away from Colton. So Colton, wrote him a note, and I don't know whether we got the note to him at all. I think that we should know enough people around here to be able to get to a note to anybody on the Wild.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he sat down and he says Colton told him that he would always wear number 14, and that he was really glad he came and watched the Wild kick butt. Mr. Eck, you made one Mighty Mite very happy.
Yeah.
And that's the story. But this kid turns around, does that for this other kid,
And I liken it to Verdugo being in school the other day. And I'll say this. I had two of my students, both big baseball fans, okay? Baseball is their passion. And one has a dad who's a teacher in school, and he got asked to go out of class, and when I turned and I closed the door because I was trying to teach my class, the other young gentleman was sitting in the back of the room, and you could see, he looked like a puppy who had just lost the ball to the big puppy. And I finally just told him, Joe, do you want to go out in the hallway? Then get out there. Then go get your picture taken with Alex Verdugo. And Joe came back in. You could still see they're 16, 17-year-old boys, but they're getting to be men. But they're still boys on the inside, and they still can be affected by that. And you get a chance to meet a major leaguer. He'll never forget. He'll never forget that. Never forget.
And Eck turning around and making the effort, he'll remember that all his life. And I swear, he'll play hockey the rest of his life. This is the type of thing. And so you see the celebrity and the problem that people have with Kobe Bryant or any of the rest of these guys.
So can I go to the opposite end of the spectrum on that? As long as when I was about 14, we went to a Twins game. Our little league team went to a Twins game on a Sunday. We rode the bus down. We got up early, rode the bus, watched the Sunday afternoon game, jumped back in the bus, and ride all the way home. They were playing the Detroit Tigers, and at that time they had a left fielder, I believe, played left field, Kirk Gibson, maybe right field. And at that time at the Metrodome, they had plexiglass up out in left field so that the fence was, but you could see through, but the fence was like about 12 feet high. And Kirk Gibson, the great athlete, you remember he played quarterback for Michigan State? The great athlete that he was, he stood about 30 feet away from the plexiglass, and he threw a baseball at us, like we were in the stands in left field, and he would hit the top of the plexiglass about this far away so that ball would not come over. And ball would bounce off, and he'd pick it up, and he'd throw it back at the thing, and it would look like it's going to, and bam, it would hit the top of the thing. He never threw one. He threw about 25 balls at that plexiglass. Never did one come over, and I've hated Kirk Gibson to this day.
Yeah, but he accomplished what he wanted to do. You'll never forget telling that story.
I'll never forget. I'll never miss a chance to badmouth Kirk Gibson, and when he hit that home run for the Dodgers in '88, it was even worse.
Yeah, I of course like Gibson because, he was a football player primarily.
He was a great athlete. I don't hold any ill will. I hold a little bit of ill will against Kirk Gibson, but he was a pretty good athlete and has that. So National Signing Day. We talked a little bit about this.
I will just go through
the top teams.
Texas A&M, number 1.
Okay.
Georgia, number 2.
Yeah.
Texas, number 3.
One over here. Keep going.
Tennessee.
Ooh, okay.
Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
Missouri. Do I have more?
So you're telling me 5 of the top 6 teams were from the SEC?
Yeah.
And none of them were Alabama?
Or LSU.
Or LSU? Wow. I see Ohio State was number 1 in the Big Ten. They regained their edge, and they actually got the 2-time high school football player of the year from Michigan. to sign at Ohio State.
Ooh.
The two-time high school player of the year in Michigan.
Think of the heckling that poor boy
signed at Ohio State. Whew. Anyway,
yeah, no, when they go home
stuff.
and play that game there, he will take heckling, much like Brad Davison did last night.
Much like Brad Davison.
Every time he did something, maybe that's what restricted his play.
Yeah, it could have been.
He could have.
Well, and I wasn't going to come back to it, but I will. After the suspension, I think. And somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. Go ahead. If you're watching the show and you want to let me know that I'm wrong on this, he needs to play with that edge.
Yeah,
he needs to play on the edge of.
Yeah.
Okay. People might say, and this might be the wrong analogy, but when I play basketball, I do a lot of shirt grabbing underneath here, so that I can keep up with you. I don't hit you in the nuts or trip you or give you a knee in the knee or whatever else like Bradsman has done. But I think he needs to play with that kind of edge. He needs to keep it close to where he's whatever. And last night he knew he had to be squeaky clean. And I think that's what really affected his play last night. Yes, the Gopher fans all over him, being from Maple Grove, right outside of Minneapolis, and the whole 9 yards, had also something to do with it. But he knew he had to be squeaky clean last night, because anything that would have been deemed as possibly dirty, he knew it's not going to be a one-game suspension the next time. It's going to be multiple game suspension the next time he does something, and he knows that he can't play that way.
I had a guy tell me one time he loved playing basketball against me because I never complained about being hit. And so that's kind of that was City League when I first came up here. You don't ever complain. No, they're using my ear as pivot point with their elbow. Just stick it in and rotate. It's a very open shot. Yeah, no, that's.
All right, what else you got in this? What else you got in this piece of papers?
We've got new coaches. 2 new coaches amongst the winners above.
Okay.
Florida State had its worst class ever. I don't know who the coaches they were talking to. Pac-12.
Oh, USC?
USC did not make any noise on Wednesday, and we don't expect to do so. But the 54th in the country and the worst recruiting class in school history has infiltrated the rest of the Pac-10 as well. No Pac-12 program snuck into the top 10. Only 3 landed outside the top 25. And there's a general lack of excitement conference-wide recruiting trail. We'll give Oregon, Washington, and Arizona State a pass on that critique for now as the 3 that look the most invested in competing at the highest level in recruiting. Elsewhere in the conference, there's a desperate need for national and even regional energy to make signing day more than just an SEC involvement event.
You know what they're contemplating in the Pac-12 to do this, to talk about being nationally relevant. Here's what this is what they are planning to do. They want to get a contract with ESPN or FS1 or whatever, and they want games on at 11 a.m. Central Time. That means you're playing at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. This is what's going to happen because they need to be on during the day. That's what they believe, to be able to get the kids to compete with the SECs and the Big Tens and whatever else. You're going to see it. The next TV contract that comes around with all these games, the Pac-12 will be playing 9 a.m. games in California and Oregon and Washington. There's going to be 1 game a week so that they are visible, so that they are there at 11 o'clock on Saturday mornings.
Growing up, watching Saturday football, you'd have the radio listening to the Gophers, which was always in the daytime, and then you would have 1 TV game. That was it, 1 game, and half the time it was Notre Dame. You know, and it's so those are the teams that you had, and then around the holidays they give you 3 or 4 games to mess with, but after that, where there wasn't much college, you can't watch as many college football games as on any given Saturday. Nope. I have tried.
You've tried, I've tried, can't be done.
Yeah.
Can I talk about a little local stuff?
Let's do that. That's what I was.
So last night,
how was the hockey game?
The hockey game was all right. Fort Francis hockey game. We can start there. Physical.
going to be?
Some people said dirty. Some people said one-sided.
Yeah.
As far as the officials go, can you imagine which side of the river they were from? But a 4-3 game, very, very nice game from at least from my standpoint. Very competitive. These two teams are very even, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And I was glad I'm glad I took the night off from curling to go watch.
A 4-3 game in favor of who?
Of the Muskies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
you know, they were an awfully close.
Yeah, it was
balanced team.
3-2 before the holidays.
That comes as no surprise to me.
Yeah, I took the night off and took Eli over to Boston Pizza, and we invited Nita with as well. She got to come.
One of my favorites.
She got to come with.
Yeah.
And so we took. He had a ball. He had a blast. He had a great time, and so that was good stuff. Last night, found out that we are going to be looking for a new head baseball coach. As Eric Walls stepped down, submitted his letter of resignation, I believe, either yesterday or the day before. And of course, Mr. Fromke, head football coach, resigned here a couple weeks ago. His resignation was accepted at the last board meeting. So two of the bigger boys sports are going to be looking for new head coaches. And of course, the baseball one comes just over a month away from the start of pitchers and catchers reporting. So I texted E last night, and I thanked him for his many years of service. Always a class act guy. Eric and I have been good buddies. Well, maybe not like some of them, but he has always treated me like I was gold. I'll say it that way. Ringer was always welcome wherever he needed. I needed an interview. I wanted stats. I wanted whatever I wanted. Eric was always there to whatever for me. And he's that way with everybody.
How many years has he been there now?
Eric was the head coach since 2012, so I think he has 8 seasons.
You know, and I'll tell you what, he's turned out some really good ball players.
Some good ball players.
Consistently, they've been in the mix against top shelf baseball teams up here, and then they tried things. They play different teams and go around and do this. I remember when he first started. You're a young coach. You're extremely enthusiastic, and Walsey was that.
Yeah.
And so and after a while, 8 years is a long time.
Yeah, and his work schedule, of course, with PCA and his travel, he said that was the main reason. But I told him he threw a curveball past me. I wasn't expecting that pitch with his letter of resignation last night. And thanks, Eric, for your time, and also to Mr. Fromke for his time. Program got turned around under his watch, and we'll see who the new head coaches are going to be. And the other thing I want to talk about locally, of course, the girls hockey team, they had their playoff game on Tuesday night against number 1 seed Cloquet Esco Carleton. They lose by a final score of 3-0. I think if I would have told you, or you would have told me that hockey game was going to be 3-0 at the end, I'd have told you had lost your mind. But Macy Marcotte, 72 saves.
Whoa.
A new school record, 75 shots on goal. And while I was at the Fort Francis Bronco boys hockey game, I was listening to the radio station from Cloquet, and they were talking about how the Broncos had packed it in like a zone in front of their goaltender. So they were more than willing to let Cloquet Esco Carleton shoot from 30, 40, 50 feet, let the puck get to Macy, let her see the puck, but they weren't going to get inside of that. And Cloquet scored 2 in the first, and they got 1 in the third. And so the girls end their season 0-20-1. No wins, just that one tie on the season. But I'll tell you what, you talk to the coaches, and Michelle McDonald and Kevin Erickson and Glenn Marcotte, they had nothing but great things to say about you girls. If you're watching this, every time I asked them how it was going, they said every day they come and they work their tails off in practice. If we told them that in order to get better that they would have to skate backwards on one leg, by God, that's what they would try to do. And when you've got kids working like that, even though the wins aren't there, they were a better hockey team at the end of the season.
How many seniors on this team?
4 seniors altogether.
Does that include Macy?
That includes Macy.
Could we fail her in school and keep her back out there? She's an amazing goaltender.
She's an amazing goaltender. And the backup goaltender actually broke her foot. She was skating out a few weeks back. she had games where she had over 50 plus saves.
Oh, okay.
So so I would guess Naomi Caradice is her name. She's from Rainy River, Ontario, and so I would think that she might be the person who will be there next year. She'll be a senior next year. And then I heard that the 12U girls have a goaltender, and she's going to come up, and she's for the duration. She might be the only goaltender this team has, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with this team. They had some numbers issues this year, and but they're going to be out there working on that and trying to do better. And Michelle McDonald, I have all kinds of faith in you that that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, she's a wonderful woman. She, no doubt about it.
She is. And of course, the Bronco Wrestlers will be in action next week with the team round of the wrestling sections, and then the individuals
Where's
the following
that
week.
going to be?
Well, the first rounds I think are going to be, I don't know for sure, to be honest with you, because I don't know who the number 4 seed is going to be. I haven't done my investigation on that. Not close enough, apparently. But and then the following week, boys hockey. I talked to head coach George McDonald, and we both agreed there's no way the Broncos are getting out of that number 5 seed. It's just the way it's going to be. So the Broncos will not have a home playoff game. So their final home playoff game is next Thursday, the 13th, against Lake of the Woods. So that'll be Parents' Night and all that action, and then they'll start the playoffs on the 18th.
Did they lose to Lake of the Woods earlier in the year?
They beat Lake of the Woods. They won that traveling trophy the first time.
That's right. Okay.
So they got that going for them. So they've got a big game tonight in Greenway. They go to Crookston on Saturday, and then they got the Lake of the Woods game next week, and then that's the end of the regular season for boys hockey. And then girls basketball finishes up the following week, and then the boys are a couple weeks down the road yet. So things come together. Boys swimming and diving also had their last home meet on Tuesday, lost to Mesabi East 96-80, and they start their sections on Thursday the 20th and finish up on Saturday the 22nd. So it's playoff time. We're into it now for the next 2 months.
It goes fast.
2 months. The high school will kind of dominate here early on, and then of course the colleges with basketball and hockey and wrestling will kind of dominate the final part of March, and it's an exciting time to be alive.
Oh yeah.
So
it surely is.
Okay, what else you got in that pile that you want to discuss?
I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the Yukon women's team can be beat. They got hammered 74-56
on their home floor.
On their home floor. And when asked, Gino Ariama says they're just too good, and they were. They were all
Oregon's
over.
a nice team.
That is a very nice team. That's that's why I brought it up. I just think that is a good team, and you're going to see them up in the top 4 or 8 or something.
Yukon is getting possibly the number 1 girls basketball player in the nation from Minnesota, and Paige Bokers. They will be have got her recruited in. She made the cover of a basketball magazine, the first time a girl has ever graced the cover, and it was a girls basketball player from Minnesota, and so kudos to her. You'll get to watch her on TV during the state tournament. They'll be there. They were undefeated last year. I'm sure they'll be undefeated this year.
What team are they on? What team?
Not Wayzata, Minnetonka.
Minnetonka.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, it'll be an interesting time. Paige Bokers is his name, and so we'll see what happens. Oh, look what George pulled up. Football season's not over yet, folks.
I had to leave this up. Now, I just looked through this and read it very quickly, but they changed the rules on us, Timmy.
XFL is going to be doing a lot of experimenting with the rules.
And so besides, one of the rules is instead of putting their name on the back, you can put whatever message you want in the back. For instance, this is...
everybody might remember He Hate Me?
He Hate Me.
When the first time the XFL came through, that was one of the most popular names on the back, and that was...
well, it's back.
It's back.
It's back.
Well, of course, it was interesting then. It made a lot of people think, and but the XFL we talked about. They're hoping these games are going to be done in 2 hours and 45 minutes. So the clock is always going to be running. No extra points. No kicking extra points. Excuse me. You got to go for it via the run or the pass. And punting rules are different. Timeout rules are different. So starts on Saturday. Going to be very interesting to see what happens with this league this time. Did they learn their lesson from the last time? And they're going to try to do things differently this time and try to do it right.
You know, I take a look at the NFL. The NFL was alive for, 20, 30 years, 40 years before it ever became a hit. And it started in 1958 with the big game that Frank played in. It's just from that point on, what happened was the churches relinquished, said, okay, we'll have mass at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then you can go home and watch the football game. And it's just, that's what I contend, and a lot of other people do. The church give up over its religion to the NFL, and nobody was showing up at church, Tim.
That's a loaded topic with what the New Orleans Saints have been, but that's another topic.
Okay. But I tell you, I will be watching some of this. We'll see if it's live action. There are some people that are refugees from the NFL.
Absolutely.
And so, and there's some people that want to play this game as long as they're walking.
No more arena football either, so
yes,
there's going to be a lot of players that were playing in the arena league hoping to get watched by the NFL now that have this option.
The XFL.
Are you going to talk about your shirt with everybody? Because I'm curious why Pink Floyd today.
No, this happened last week. I said to Sue, come up for a glass of wine in the solarium, and I said, here, what are we going to put? And she said, what would you like to listen to? And she ummed and ahed, and I said, the place reeks of Roger Waters. So one of my favorite albums is Dark Side of the Moon, and Roger Waters is the creator of Pink Floyd, and I've seen it live once, and we put it on, and the music is just marvelous. And Sue got up at the end of the album. She says, "Thanks." I forget that this music is there, and so I just thought you always ask what's the latest music you listen to. Well, Sue and I caught into a little Pink Floyd, and oh yeah, it's good. Money, it's a crime.
Anything else?
No. What do you got?
I got just something I just want to send everybody out with, and then I'm going to be done. So.
Well, I got to tell you.
You do have to tell me.
It's been a fine day and another fine program. 17th or 18th.
Yeah, whatever it is, 17, 18, 19, I could go count, but it's not important anymore for some reason.
No, it's not.
It's been fun. I'm going to finish the show on this. Thanks, Mitt Romney, for what you did. It took courage, and you did it right. I know we're not supposed to do this on the show, but I'm saying it right here, right now. And
this is what I was talking about.
You did good.
Character. He shows character,
courage,
and leads you. Yeah, that's what leads to. It's a secondary thing. But he stood up there and would not go against his conscience. Hey, and somebody else calls him a bum for that. No, I'm with you, buddy. Thanks, Mitt.
Thanks, everybody.